Agriculture. What is agriculture? Agriculture is a word which is derived from a Latin language that is ager or agri and culture. So agri means here soil and culture means cultivation. So according to the Latin language, the word agriculture means soil cultivation. In our chapter, we will be discussing what is agriculture, in which category of the sectors does agriculture fall into. In order to make a plant to grow and reach to the full useful resource, it has to pass through various sectors. So when we plant a sibling, that has to grow, that has to produce something, that has to be collected, and then that has to be distributed in the market and then sold in the market. For all these things, it has to cross through different sectors like primary, secondary, third one tertiary sector or service sector. In the primary sector, the basic things like quarrying, farming, cultivation, then quarrying of the stones, drilling of the oil, all these things, mining, come under primary activities. Where the basic activity of anything starts, let it take the raw materials used or taking the raw materials into the purpose. So all these things come under the primary sector. So once the activities are done in the primary sector, then you get a product which is not in the complete form. It has to be modified, it has to be made. So when we get the raw iron, that has to be made into the shape which we need. For this, we need a factory, we need a manufacturing unit. These manufacturing units come under the category of the secondary sector. So now, from primary, after producing something, you get it manufactured in the manufacturing unit. So everything is being finalized and now it has to be sold. So in order to transport the product from the crop region to the factory point, from the factory point to the outlet point, from the outlet point to the nearest stores. So everything we need transportation, we need the trade, we need the business contacts between them. So all these things are actually coming under service sector or the tertiary sector. Hospitality, business, banking, everything comes under the service sector. Service sector is nothing but acting as a link between the primary and the secondary sector. It supports the primary and the secondary sector to give its full potential. This support given to the primary and secondary sector is known as service sector. So like this, we have three important sectors. A plant, to grow it into a full useful resource, it needs to pass through certain stages. Those are the primary, secondary and the tertiary sector. So in this chapter now we will be discussing how did agriculture fall into the primary sector, what is the role of the agriculture, we will be finding out now. Agriculture in the entire world, there are nearly 50% of people depending on agriculture. Agriculture comes under the category of primary sector, where the basic work will be started. So now moving on to understand how this agriculture plays an important role in India, because in India we have nearly 2/3 of people depending on agriculture. Nearly 70% of people depend on agriculture. These 70% of people are depending on the primary sector. When we talk about the primary sector, we need to remember that here in the primary sector, the people, those who are depending on this sector, are having highly unstable income. The income which is not guaranteed for them. Why do we say that the income in the primary sector is not guaranteed? Because in the agricultural sector, agriculture truly depends on the climate of a place and the land. India has a very vast availability of land. But when it comes to the availability of water, 50% of Indian farmers even today depend on agriculture, the rainwater. So rainwater is the main source for them to start their crops growing, to start the crop season. Now, as the time passed on, the monsoon started to play a very vital role on the lives of the farmers. We generally see farmers committing suicides when there is no proper monsoon rainfall occurring in the month of June. That results in the failure of the crops or delay in the crop season, which ultimately forces the farmers to commit suicide. So here, if the rains come in time and it creates a good reap, the crop will give more benefit for us. But if the rains are not proper, they could not get you good results. The crop was not ripen up properly, you don't get any income, so you will be in loss. So the investment what you kept on the soil will become waste. That is the reason why many of the farmers commit suicide. So that's why we are saying that the agriculture, as it falls in the primary sector, it is having very unstable nature. The income is not at all guaranteed in this primary sector, especially agriculture, which we have seen in our country from the past 6 decades. Now moving on further, agriculture needs the support of land and water. So these two combinedly we can call climate and topography. The climate and the topography of a region should support the farmers to do the agriculture. The fertility of the soil should be good, the availability of the water should be there. Then only you can do good agriculture. So the conditions which are favoring a farmer or the land to do cultivation is called arable land. The land which supports to do agriculture is known as arable land. The spelling is A-R-A-B-L-E, arable land. Which do not support the agriculture are known as waste lands. Now we will see what are the different types of cultures, means cultivations. Agriculture. What is the meaning of agriculture? When we do farming, that is known as agriculture. So agri plus culture gives for farming, cultivation of the crops. Moving to the sericulture. Seri plus culture gives for silkworm rearing. The silkworms are reared for the commercial purpose. Then it is known as sericulture. When we see the pisciculture, that is the breeding of the fish for the commercial purpose, is known as pisciculture. When we see the viticulture culture gives to cultivation of the grapes. The grapes grown for the commercial purpose is known as viticulture. Horticulture is known for growing of the vegetables. So there are different types of cultivations basing on the product what you produce. There are different types of names also available for us. First, agriculture, farming; sericulture, silkworm rearing; pisciculture, breeding of fish; viticulture, cultivation of grapes; horticulture, growing of vegetables. These are the different types of cultures or cultivations available for us in the present day society. Farm system. How does the farming takes place? For farming we need seeds, fertilizers, machinery and labor. First the seeds have to be sown, then we need to put the fertilizers, then we need to use the machinery for plowing, provide the irrigation water to them, and then weeding out if the unnecessary trees which are growing on there. So all the unnecessary weeds have to be removed, and the labor will be working all these things, and finally after a time period of the crop is grown, you do the harvesting, that is which is having the activities of plowing, sowing, irrigation, weeding and harvesting. So output generally we get the crops, the wool, the dairy products and poultry. These all together we have in the farm system. Agriculture, we need seeds, fertilizers, machinery and labor. The activities involved in this system are plowing, sowing, irrigation, weeding and harvesting. Now moving on to the types of farming available or cultivated. There are different types of cultivation. How do we determine what are the type of farming that is happening in a particular place? Depending on the geographical area of the place, looking at the demand of the product what they are producing, labor, how much or how many are working in the field, technology, the usage of the technology. Depending on the land or the geographical area, demand of the product what they are producing, labor, how many people are working there, and technology, how much they are using, are they using or not using. Depending on all these four factors, we generally categorize the farming into two major categories, that is subsistence farming and commercial farming. The subsistence farming means whatever we do cultivation in a small region is known as subsistence farming. In subsistence farming, the farming will be cultivated in a small region or a small plot where the labor will be the household people only. It is done to serve the needs of the household purpose only. They don't sell it commercially. So that is subsistence farming. The subsistence farming is again divided into intensive subsistence farming and primitive subsistence farming. In the intensive subsistence farming, they do the cultivation intensively in a large area where more number of labor are employed to work in the field, and they cultivate it for the commercial purpose. In the previous one, the subsistence farming, they were not cultivating for commercial purpose. They are cultivating it only for the use of their household requirements to satisfy the household needs. But as the time passed on, for the intensive cultivation or the intensive subsistence farming, they are cultivating for the commercial purpose. They are employing major number of people to work and no household people are involved in this one. So this is called intensive subsistence farming. Now in the subsistence farming, the second category, that is the primitive subsistence farming, is again divided into shifting cultivation and nomadic herding. Moving to understand what is shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation, as the name suggests, people shift from one place to another place. But when it comes to cultivation, how can we shift the cultivation from one place to another place? We grow the crop in one place, carry the crop and put it somewhere else and do cultivation? No, that is not the way here when it comes to shifting cultivation. The primitive people used to select a piece of land, cut that the trees or anything which are on that land, clear the land, then do the cultivation, or sometimes they burn that one and mix the ashes with the soil and sow the seeds and do the cultivation. After doing cultivation for a certain period of time, they again harvested the crop and burn that one. They search to a new place, again they start doing cultivation, again they burn that one after a certain period of time, and again they go for another region. In this way, the places are being shifted. This shifting of from one place to another place is known as shifting cultivation. People go on shifting from one region to another region. That's why this cultivation is also known as slash and burn cultivation. Along with this, they also move with their herds. They also move with the camel, goat, sheep, yak, all these things, and they travel from one region to the other region. When they are traveling in the winter season, they move from the northern region to the southern regions. In the summer season, they go back to their northern places. So this traveling makes them called as nomadic herding. As they are moving from one place to another place, they are called non-settlers. So they move with their own herds from one region to another region, which also act as a source for them for milk, food and meat, and the hides are sold, and they make relationships with the farmers of the places to get the work for them for the fields, because these fields are being helped by the animals which they carry to do the sowing, plowing and all these things, because they also make friendship with the farmers. They have to get food for their animals, the herds what they are taking also. So these all things are interlinked. They plan very well in advance because they have to count the days of journey, and they also make friendship with the farmers. They sometimes in return give milk for them or carry the produce grains with them and sell it to the farmers there. Like this they make relationship with them. So in the primitive farming they have slash and burn cultivation and also nomadic herding happening. Commercial farming. What is commercial farming? A farming which is done with a perspective of earning huge profits is known as commercial farming. This is mainly practiced in the United States of America, Argentina, South American continent, etc. So commercial farming again has two types of farming. One is the mixed farming, the other is the plantation. The mixed farming means doing the cultivation and also the rearing of the animal stock is known as mixed farming. This is practiced in South and Southeast Asian countries. So they do cultivation, they do the crop growing. Parallelly, they also rear the animals like goat, sheep, cow, buffalo, all these, and they maintain this stock also in advance with them. So maintaining a crop as well as the animal stock is known as mixed farming. But when it comes to plantation, a single variety of plant is grown in straight rows and in the large area where its purpose was to give cultivation for a particular crop and commercial purpose only. They are doing it to earn huge profits only. So a particular crop like tea, coffee, sugar or like banana, plantations are mostly found in USA, then in Argentina, in Russia. So all these regions. What do? They select a piece of land, large number of people, labor are employed, large machinery is required, hundreds of acres they do the cultivation of a single crop, grow it in straight rows and do the cultivation. They sometimes do the processing in the crop region itself, or sometimes they take it to the nearby forest to do the processing of the crop. These are the different types of farmings available for us basing on the geographical, demand, labor and technology. They are divided into subsistence farming and commercial farming. Subsistence farming is again divided into intensive subsistence farming and primitive farming, whereas commercial farming is divided into mixed farming and plantations. What are the major crops grown across the globe? The major crops grown are rice, wheat, millets and maize. What are the conditions that are required to grow a rice crop? That is the paddy crop. Paddy is a major food crop. Rice is mostly consumed by maximum number of people in the world. So for growing of the paddy crop or the rice grains, we need to have a tropical or the subtropical climatic conditions. That is, we need high temperatures. That is why it is grown in very few countries like China, which is ranking first in the production of the rice, then followed by India, then we have the Sri Lanka and Egyptian countries where we can find the growth of rice in plenty. China stands first, followed by India, Japan, Sri Lanka and Egypt. Moving on to wheat. The production of wheat can be done in a temperate or moderate climatic conditions where it is well grown in the loamy soil where the free flow of the water is present. That is in the countries like USA, Canada, Argentina, Russia, Ukraine, Australia and India. Moving on to the millets. Millets are also known as the coarse grains. They are grown in even the less fertile soil or the sandy soils also. They are found in the countries like India, Nigeria, China and Nigerian parts, suburban regions. Moving on to the maize. In maize, we also find this one growing in moderate temperatures where the huge supply of water is required here, where the regions are well drained with the water. It is grown in the countries of North America, Brazil, China, Russia, Canada, India and Mexico. Now, the major crops other than those maize and all, we have cotton, jute, coffee and tea. For cotton, we need high temperatures, very light rainfall and nearly 210 frost-free days. These 210 frost-free days should be bright sunshine days. Then only we can do the cultivation of cotton. Cotton is cultivated in the countries of China, USA, India, Pakistan, Brazil and Egypt. While moving to the next crop, the jute. The jute is also known as the golden fiber. It requires high temperature, heavy rainfall, humid climatic condition and it is grown in the countries of India and Bangladesh. Moving on to coffee. The coffee is having requirement of warm and wet climatic conditions and also well drained loamy soils are much suitable for the cultivation of coffee. The countries which cultivate coffee are Brazil, Colombia and India. We're moving on to tea. Tea is also considered as a beverage crop. It is cultivated in large plantations. It requires cool climate, high rainfall and well drained loamy soils. It is also cultivated in the countries of Kenya, India, China and Sri Lanka are the best producers and the finest quality of tea is produced in these countries. These are the major crops which are grown across the world. Agricultural development. How can we develop agriculture? Agriculture, we need to increase the efforts made to increase the production in order to meet the requirements or the demands of the market. That is called agricultural development. When we develop agriculture, literally we mean that we are increasing the production. Why we are increasing the production? We are increasing the production to meet the demand of the market. So that is in small words or in other ways known as increasing the production. The efforts made to increase the production to meet the demands of the market is known as agricultural development. Now see here, increase cropping area. One of the easy suggestible method how can we increase agricultural production is to increase the cropping area, to use the fertilizers and high yielding variety seeds, which ultimately increases the production and makes a country food secured. So food security is guaranteed in that country. Increasing the production by the cropping area increased makes the people to get more amount of output. The another way adding for this production is to get fertilizers using and also using high yielding variety of seeds, which will double the production, which we learned through the Green Revolution from 1960 to 1970, where the India has experienced huge growth rate in the agricultural production of rice, wheat, millets and pulses and dal, etc. Looking at that perspective, we can suggest that if we use the increase the patterning area, increasing the cropping area and fertilizers and high yielding variety of seeds would definitely increase the production and make the country food secured. What is food security or food security of a country? Because in food security, the situation is that food is available to everyone, accessible to everyone at the minimum cost, with having all the nutritional values required for him for one day activities is known as food security. The availability of the food to all the people at their accessible level, providing the nutritional value food is known as food security. Now moving on to how is a crop pattern in different countries. Generally in the developing countries, we have intensive agriculture. We have cultivation of the crops in large areas where large number of people will be working. So that is called intensive agriculture. But in the developed countries, we have commercial agriculture or commercial cropping pattern. So we will try to understand this through a case study, one from a developing country like India and one from a developed country like United States of America. Now, a farm in India, as I told you, we will take an example from a developing country like India and also we will do a case study on this. Now, let us see here. Munna, a farmer who resides at the main village of Adilabad near Ghazipur, which is in Uttar Pradesh, one of the northern states of our country. Here, he owns an area of 1.5 hectares of his own and he uses high yielding variety of seeds. He makes the crop for rainy season and the summer season. So he cultivates two crops in the field. He brings a tractor for rent for doing the plowing of the soil, and he also has a tube well which is used to supply water for the field. He also, apart from the land, he also owns 2 buffaloes and few hens. He sells the milk to the cooperative members as he is a member of the cooperative society. He also receives advices from the cooperative society members, the government scientists, the government consultants of the farmers, advise him what kind of pesticides he would be using for his crop to grow much better. He also gets advices from the cooperative society scientists and the members. He also takes credit from the banks and buys the HYV seeds, high yielding variety seeds, and after the production is done, harvesting is done, he sells his output nearby town, that is Mandi town, and he makes a profit of that. Nowadays many of the farmers are finding shortage of this, so now government is planning to construct storehouses or warehouses for these people to do the storage and sell it in the nearby towns also. So Munna is a farmer who owns just 1.5 acres of land, and he is in the Uttar Pradesh state, which is a northern state. He uses the high yielding variety of seeds and he cultivates 2 crops in his field per year. he uses tractor for rent for doing the plowing of his field, and he is supplying water to his field not depending on the rainfall. So he is having his own tube well through which he gets the water, and he also owns 2 buffaloes which give milks for him, and he sells this milk in the nearby cooperative society of which he is a member, and he also takes advices from them whenever it's necessary, and he takes credit from the bank which is giving credit for him as a society member, and like this he leads his life and selling the output in the nearby Mandi town. Here he is doing the responsibility of a manual labor. He is acting as a peasant, as a farmer. He takes care of everything, starting from buying of the seeds to selling of the production. Every activity goes with his own hands with much larger share. He may have some assistants helping him, but major work is done by Munna himself. Now, let us look at an example in USA. A farmland in USA, that is, the name of the farmer is Joe Horan. It would be right if we say he is a businessman. Why it is right to say him as a businessman, not as a farmer, we will see now. He owns 300 hectares of land, which is a minimum in US is they own 250 hectares of land. So when it comes to Indian land, they are owning just 1.5 hectares of per person. Here he owns 300 hectares. He resides in the same farm. He cultivates a bulk of the crops together like corn, soybean, wheat, cotton and sugar beet. He produces all these crops at the same time, and he maintains a soil and water compatibility, and once the needs are met, he then starts to doing the soil for testing. So when the soil is tested, the nutrients, whether the soil is having the required level of nutrients or not, that will be checked, and once it is checked, then they try to take the necessary precautions and plan for scientific fertilization. So the scientific fertilizer program will be based on the result what they get from the lab when the samples were sent. He uses the tractors to do seeds, drills, level the land, do combined harvester as well as the thresher. He once produces everything, then he stores them in an automated storeroom, and later he dispatches this to the marketing agencies, and now it is right to say that he is acting truly like a businessman. He doesn't do any of these works with his own physical activity. He makes the machines to do all these activities, and he has people to work for him. So when it comes to India, we have 1.5 hectare of land where Munna himself is working physically, getting involved in everything. But here, Joe Horan is not involved anywhere. He just gets a satellite linked to his computer. The pictures of the crop will be given to him directly so that he can observe that one and plan properly and execute this. So he is truly holding a large area of land, cultivating major number of crops at the same time, using high yielding variety of machinery like tractors doing all the work. No manual work is going on anywhere. So all these things turns this man to be truly a businessman, though he is also doing the farming. In India also we have farming, but it's quite widely different when it comes to Indian farming and the US farming. So agriculture is different in different countries. Though in India it is not so profitable, in United States it is hugely profitable to many of the businessmen like Joe Horan. In this chapter, we have only these points to be discussed.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.